Fashion made no room for her. She didn't match the look, didn't embody the mood, didn't blend in. While Paris maintained its cultivated silence, she became a visible force across the Atlantic. By the time attention turned her way, she had transformed exclusion into momentum and compelled the industry to follow her direction. This is the full story of how Heidi Klum confronted the fashion world and became impossible to dismiss. At 18, a friend persuaded her to send a photo to a televised modeling contest, Model 92. She had no training, no portfolio, no clear direction.
Coupon was in there and she said, oh, look, they're doing this big modeling contest and maybe you should try and maybe you could be a model. And then we sent in those photos and I won this contest.
But out of more than 25,000 participants, she was selected. In a live broadcast, she signed her first contract with a New York agency. It looked like a start.
When I won this contest, which was in '92, I had no idea what was about to happen. I was super shy at the time. I hardly could get my mouth open.
Heidi Klum was born in 1973 in a small town just outside Cologne. Shaped more by industry than aesthetics, its architecture old, its rhythm provincial. Her father worked in the production department of a regional cosmetics firm. Her mother in a local salon. Beauty, in that context, was practical. Something applied. There was no legacy of fashion, no early preparation for runways. Just beginnings. Quiet, rooted, and unremarkable. But doors remained shut. In New York, in Paris, in Milan, she was labeled too commercial. She wasn't just out of step with the moment. She arrived nearly a decade before the industry would shift. The counter-image to heroin chic wouldn't surface until 1999, with Gisele Bündchen's arrival. But Heidi had already been there, embodying what came next before it had a name. She didn't reflect the cold distance of Calvin Klein or the opaque detachment Prada cultivated. She was vivid, present, immediate, and that made her suspect. Designers preferred reserve. Photographers sought mystery. Heidi offered something more direct, too direct, some felt. Karl Lagerfeld, never one to temper a statement, later remarked, "I don't know her, she was never in Paris." It wasn't just indifference, it was a declaration of exclusion. For years, the industry upheld that line. While others were walking Fashion Week in Europe, she was shooting catalogs in Germany and lingerie campaigns in Miami.
Walk down the street. This is not how I am when my husband comes home and I'm like, hey baby, how was your day? And I stand in the door.
It paid, but it didn't resonate. Still, she kept going. She learned what worked, not for editors, but for audiences. Not distance, but familiarity. Not silence, but presence. She studied the camera, its angles, its rhythm, and learned to adapt, to listen, to read what each shoot required. Always upbeat, always prepared, she delivered not only consistency, but a level of professionalism that turned reliability into reputation.
She was the ultimate ham in front of our cameras, whether she was hip-hop dancing or cracking jokes in a faux southern drawl. A lot of people think it's easy just to say cheese and have a great photo come out, but a lot of the success of a cover shoot depends on the interaction of the celebrity with the photographer.
Top photographers began to notice, not for mystique, but for consistency. She understood angles, respected the frame, and delivered every time. And then came the breakthrough, Victoria's Secret.
They're really beautiful girls here, and it's amazing clothes. It's one of the best shows to do in the city. It's like such a hot ticket to get.
The turning point definitely was Victoria's Secret for me. One day, I got an appointment, and I went, and they actually booked me, and I was like, yes.
In 1997, she walked her first show. 2 years later, she wore the wings, and with them came a shift that changed everything. Victoria's Secret wasn't built on mystery. It operated through color, clarity, spectacle, and Heidi Klum fit precisely into that design. Her presence wasn't abstract, it was grounded. Her confidence wasn't aloof, it was open. She brought a kind of energy to the stage that hadn't existed in high fashion until then. She didn't dissolve into styling, she embodied it. The show leaned on visibility, and she knew how to own it. She wasn't mysterious, she was unmistakable. That quality, once considered a liability, became her advantage. Victoria's Secret amplified her image across borders. It wasn't just fashion anymore. It was television, interviews, late-night appearances. In 1998, she landed on the cover of Sports Illustrated's swimsuit issue, reaching audiences who had never cared about fashion before. She became familiar, she became marketable, and she understood exactly what that meant. She approached every appearance not as the goal, but as groundwork. She understood early on that exposure was temporary, but influence could last. She began choosing long-term endorsements, ensuring creative input and building a name not only known, but remembered. By the early 2000s, Heidi Klum had become a familiar name, but she wasn't interested in familiarity alone. She aimed for authorship. She remained active in modeling, still a Victoria's Secret angel, still appearing on major magazine covers, including multiple editions of Vogue. But her attention had already shifted. With Project Runway, she entered production. No longer waiting to be chosen, she was casting others. No longer seeking approval, she was giving it. With Tim Gunn beside her, she wasn't simply hosting a show. She was shaping careers. What began as a format turned into a franchise. 16 seasons, Emmy nominations, and eventually an Emmy win in 2013, marking the first time a fashion program had broken through a category dominated by talent competitions. It wasn't just entertainment, it was recognition that fashion too could hold tension, structure, consequence. And when the envelope opened, the award didn't just honor a show, it honored her. After 16 seasons, she stepped away from Project Runway, quietly while the format still held. In the years that followed, the show continued, but the momentum faded. Emmy nominations stalled. What had once broken new ground now ran familiar tracks. In 2025, she returned, not to revive, but to reaffirm what her absence had already revealed. She had understood what worked and recognized when something deserved to be done again. Internationally, she launched Germany's Next Top Model in 2006. It didn't fade after one season. It endured. Over 20 cycles, a consistent platform for German models, with her presence as the anchor. She wasn't just the host, she was the structure. In 2020, a year and a half after her quiet departure from Project Runway, she introduced Making the Cut on Amazon. The format carried familiar DNA, designers competing, careers shaped, but widened the scope. With global reach and increased creative control, it reflected her evolution behind the scenes. The series ran for 3 seasons and concluded in 2022. She expanded her brand through product lines, clothing, fragrances, jewelry, furniture, lingerie, each bearing her name, each carefully curated. She took personal responsibility for what she endorsed, offering credibility in a space often accused of insincerity. Critics mimicked her voice, called her a caricature, but audiences kept watching because she wasn't background, she was central. She extended her reach with America's Got Talent, accessing viewers far removed from fashion. Millions saw her deliver critiques, balanced, sharp, but never cruel. She adjusted tone to context. She understood audience. Brands noticed. Long-term contracts followed, with L'Oreal, Birkenstock, Hunkemöller. These weren't simple endorsements. They were collaborations shaped by mutual benefit. Heidi brought with her a powerful brand identity and a wide public reach, while reinforcing the visibility of the products she chose to align with. She wasn't adapting to trends. She was helping shape them. As social media emerged, she didn't resist. She transitioned. With her daughter Lenny, she built a digital identity, over 11 million followers, selective visibility, calculated presence. Their family moments became part of the public narrative. Her private life, though visible, was controlled. She married musician Seal in 2005. They had 3 children, and he adopted her daughter Lenny. Their marriage, public but dignified, ended in 2014. She chose not to prolong the media attention. Privacy became a priority. In 2019, she married Tom Kaulitz, one of the twins of the band Tokyo Hotel, in a private ceremony, understated despite public interest. Their relationship has since become a visible part of her public narrative, shared appearances, coordinated looks, and a digital presence that highlights their closeness.
Now, her unique talent has crossed over from supermodel to actress to producer. A true star in fashion and entertainment. Let's have a few words from Heidi Klum, and then we'll unveil the star. All right, thank you.
Heidi Klum didn't dismantle the fashion world. She stepped outside it and built something larger, from being cast to casting, from being styled to producing, from walking runways to deciding who walks them. Too commercial became her formula, and by the time the old guard realized it, she had already rewritten the rules. She wasn't asking to be let in. She had become the gate.
I have a great job. I love what I do. You know, success is to be happy in life. And I feel like that I'm there.